You all probably know what Family Guy is. As of the writing of this video, it has had 24 seasons, which is wild because Family Guy was first cancelled on season 2, but then Fox just didn't and season 3 was made. And after that was done, it was cancelled for real this time. Afterwards, Adult Swim got the rights for syndication, where it did much better because they actually promoted it. And it also did well on DVD sales. With all that in mind, Fox was convinced to finally bring the series back, with its revival premiering on May 1st, 2005. And I guess with all this hype, a video game was decided to be made. From the developers that made Lego Racers, The Conduit, and Leisure Suit Larry Magno... What? What is this name? What? Comes... Oh god... The Family Guy video game, developed by High Voltage Software and published by 2K. The Family Guy video game first stumbled into the world on October 17, 2006 in North America for PS2, Xbox, and PSP apparently. So, what was the reception of the game? Well, it was middling. Which isn't too surprising. You don't exactly hear people talk about Family Guy the game like they do with Simpsons Hit and Run. Before the making of this video, I never played this game. I have only seen other people play it, so when I got a PS2, I used it as an excuse to finally play the game for myself, and for my own opinion on it. And after being done with it, I doubt I'm gonna play the game again. It's not the worst thing ever, it's just, how do I put this? There's nothing to really bring me back to it. Okay, let's get into the gameplay first. There are 3 playable characters, Stewie, Brian, and Peter, coincidentally all voiced by Seth MacFarlane. And they all have different gameplay styles. Stewie is classic platforming, with him being able to jump, grapple, glide, and shoot your enemies by locking into them. His gameplay is the one I like the most, and by that I mean the least tedious. Like, it's great that the game went with a cel-shaded style. Not even Simpsons did that, but I will say it's a detriment when platforming. Let me give you an example. I'm climbing this long area, I jump, and I miss because I can't tell how far the platforms are. Like, look at this. Like, what? It looks like they're in the same space, but no, they're slightly further apart. So, I have to rely on the shadow to land my jumps, but sometimes it just doesn't work on certain platforms for some reason. Aside from that, he has bolts as collectibles that upgrade your gun, either unlocking new modes for it or increasing the strength of the blast. The different modes are Basic Blast, Triple Blast, Grenade, Radius Blast, and Homing Missile. The majority of the time, I stuck with the Basic Blast, as to use the other attacks, you had to charge your gun, which I thought was time consuming in the heat of the battle. He also had a mind control device, which you could not control when to use it. Rather, the game only allows you to use it when it's required. I think it's a rather pointless mechanic, but it seems the purpose for it is for the gags.
Oh god, my lawn! That's not what I meant by a bush cut! Damn it! My taco's ready, so is what I got.
Excellent! One of my sky hooks. Good thing my bribes at City Hall paid off.
Hey, don't forget to put in these hooks.
Why?
Because some infant gave me $100.
Ah, it's one of those cutaways like you see on television. However, this is a video game, so they are interactive. Succeed, and I'll get more power-ups for my ray gun.
Since I'm talking about gags, I might as well talk about Family Guy's famous cutaways. They are in the game as quick minigames, and I don't really think they bring anything to the game. They do reward you if you complete them correctly, with Stewie getting bolts, Brian getting brief visibility, and Peter getting some food for his meter. Out of all of them, Brian's ability is the most useful, as it basically lets you skip sections of the level unless you touch someone, but I still don't like them as they interrupt you when you're just trying to play the game. And what's worse is that if you are sent back to a previous checkpoint, you have to do the cutaway again. And that can be quite annoying. For example, I had this Galaga-like section of the game that I had to repeat quite often because aside from dodging the enemy fire, I also had to be careful with the mimes. And that made it harder to dodge because whenever the mimes exploded, the screen shook. So yeah, I died often and I had to repeat the cutaway since that's where the checkpoint left me. And the joke of that cutaway is you do nothing to win, which I guess funny at first, but when you have to repeat the same joke over and over again, it kind of gets tedious. I eventually figured out that you can use the grenade to clear out the mines, which made the section more tolerable. I also want to note a cutaway in which the joke is, we ran out of money, so press a button to win. And yeah, I guess it's creative, but it's kind of a weird thing because it's not even the final cutaway, and the cutaways that follow are just normal as usual. So what's the point of this one?
It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time.
Alright, let's get into Brian's gameplay. And his gameplay is basic stealth and not very good stealth. Like, for example, characters would sometimes see me from really far away when I'm like hidden behind something. Or sometimes I go by a character who's looking away and they suddenly turn around and see me for no reason, making me having to restart the entire section. And that's annoying, especially if the section is quite long. And you also have to recollect the collectibles again, which you need to get in order to go to the next section. Brian also does get disguises. There are basically two types. The one where he disguises himself as an object and one where he plays a character. The first one, well, all you have to do is stay still for it to work and also not bump into anyone. The second one, you can walk around freely, but you will have a meter, which will fill if you get close to a particular item for too long. Once filled, Brian will lose his costume, and the only way to regain it is by going into the shadows. I have to mention that I encountered this bug in which I got caught, and then when the checkpoint reloaded, I didn't have my disguise, and I couldn't put it back on even when I back into the shadows. I somehow did get through it without it, and when I replayed the level, the bug didn't happen again. I wish I knew why, and it's not the only bug that I encountered, but I will talk about that later.
From the youngest child to the oldest nagging grandma, none shall escape my fists of fury.
Finally, we talk about Peter, whose gameplay is a beat 'em up, a very obtuse beat 'em up. How do I explain this? Well, you know how in a typical beat 'em up, you just hit an enemy and that does damage? Well, in the Family Guy video game, you have to hit the enemy with a specific move, either being the kick or a hit. Sometimes it's neither, so I have to guess which one it has to be. For example, there was this piñata girl in which none of the moves just worked, and I tried everything, and it's like, what am I supposed to be doing? And then I don't know, after a lot of freaking tries, I eventually kind of just figured it out, I suppose, and then did it, and huzzah, I could move on. Oh yeah, the special moves. Of course, I can't do them all the time because it requires you to use the meter, which is filled by picking up food. You do unlock other special moves as you go through the game that also fill your gauge, but I have no footage of me using them because the first one is just the best one. Like, it works especially well with crowd control and it costs the least to use. I have to comment on a bug that happened to me when I was playing Peter's level. Usually when you beat all the enemies, well, you know, the go sign appears, which means that you can carry on. Well, on a certain section, I lost, and then when I respawned, the two police officers that were supposed to be there just did not appear, which meant I could not move on. I tried reloading, but that didn't work. I tried to see if I could restart the level, but I found out that I couldn't. So you know what that means. I had to replay the first 2 hours of the game, because fuck you. And this game has no manual save, so what do I do? Well, I turn off the auto saves and then turn it back on. And when I did that, it allowed me to pick up a save slot, which meant that I could have multiple backup saves in case something went wrong. Although luckily nothing went wrong the second time around, but of course it's annoying that I had to do this in the first place. My guess is that the game was not eluded a lot of time, and I could not be too far off. According to Wikipedia, Take-Two Interactive originally obtained the right to publish a Family Guy game on February 2005, but nothing was heard of until March 2006, in which the rights switched to one of its subsidiaries, 2K, and High Voltage Software was brought in to fill in development. Alright, when did this game come out? October 2006. meaning the high voltage software had worked in the game less than 7 months, probably even less because of disk printing. I pray that's not the actual time the game was worked on. Wikipedia does say fill in, so there was probably a previous studio that worked on it, but of course I don't know if they used the previous work or if they had to start from scratch. My god, they really want to rush this game for the revival season of Family Guy, didn't they? Don't you just love game development or tie-in games from the early 2000s? I did try to find who was the other studio that they were filling in, but it didn't say. Only mentioning Airborne Studios was producing a mobile game, which turned out to be Family Guy's Stewie's Arsenal. At least they did brought the writers from Family Guy, Stephen Callahan, Kirk Butler, and Patrick Mahan, and the original cast returned to voice their respective characters with Seth MacFarlane, Alex Borstein, Mila Kunis, and Seth Green. Let's not forget about other actors like Patrick Warburton, Mike Henry, Olin Shawn, and good old Adam West. May he rest in peace. And also other actors voicing their characters. It does seem they spent a lot of money on the voice actors because they didn't bring the composer from the series back, because instead, Association Production Music is listed as a composer. They are a music production company that distributes music tracks that are used on shows and films. So you might have even heard some of those songs before, like this one.
I must eliminate that sperm trooper before he leaves this fleshy expressway.
Yeah, that's Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy's theme that's playing. Well, the song is actually called Four Man's Shiver, composed by Sam Spence. But yeah, imagine my surprise of me playing the Family Guy video game and suddenly Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy's theme is suddenly playing. Like, what the fuck? It's so weird. It's probably not even the only one.
The stomach! I must be careful to avoid touching the lake of acid. Sort of like when I pretend the driveway is hot lava.
Alright, let's just get into the story. We start with Peter watching a marathon of Mr. Belvedere using his satellite from the episode PTV.
Still out here, huh?
I have a responsibility to my PTV viewers, Brian. And nothing says must-see TV like a 5-day, non-stop Mr. Belvedere marathon.
Gotta say, I never really cared for that show. Put out kind of a weird vibe.
I think this is the one where Mr. Belvedere sits on his own nuts.
And there's the weird vibe.
In the meantime, Stewie is building a mind control device and decides to use Peter's satellite to enhance the power of the mind control device, but is interrupted by Bertram.
Did your mothers stop cleaning their carpets long enough to let you out of the house? That was a jab at their sexuality.
I'm here for one thing and one thing only, Stuart. Your satellite dish.
Oh my god, who remembers Bertram? Stewie's rival and half-brother, whose last appearance was on season 9, which was like 15 years ago, in which they killed him off. Jesus, there are Family Guy fans that have no idea this character exists. Although it's not too surprising since he only appeared in 3 episodes. One in season 3, one in season 4, and as mentioned earlier, season 9. So there was quite the gap in his appearances. Anyway, Stewie's tried to stop him by destroying the satellite dish.
Hey, keep it down up there. If that's Meg or some kind of squirrel, I'm gonna get my shotgun.
But apparently that was Bertram's plan all along.
Now I can proceed unimpeded with my own plan for world domination. Goodbye, Stuart!
Okay, some kind of squirrel or Meg, stop interrupting my program.
And the dish accidentally falls on Peter, who is then taken to the hospital. Stewie follows him because apparently one of Bertram's many bases are inside Peter's testicles. And so, Stewie's whole goal is to stop Bertram from whatever he's planning. Meanwhile, Brian is alone at home when suddenly Seabreeze appears and finds out she's pregnant. Mr. Peterschmidt comes in to accuse Brian of being the father. He bribes the police officers and Brian is arrested.
I'm not the father, Joe.
Unless you can prove that, Brian, we gotta lock you up. Damn it, a speed bump. Who's the wise guy that put this speed bump here? It's not funny! Horowitz, I'm looking at you! Yeah? Oh, yeah, laugh it up, guys! This is in poor taste!
He manages to escape and decides to search for evidence in different locations to find the real culprit.
Smells like Vitalis and self-hatred. But it's the wrong scent. That must mean Tom Tucker's not the father. So who is? The dog track. Seabreeze races there. It's a long shot, but maybe I could find something there to clear my name.
Much later, Peter wakes up, and after seeing a signal in the sky, he starts believing that Mr. Belvedere kidnapped his family and is trying to kill him.
Hi, Dad!
Not now, Meg. I'm trying to rescue you from Mr. Belvedere.
So he spends the rest of the game beating people up and getting hit on the head, changing into different outfits and personas, all while chasing the Belvedere signal. That's the gist of everyone's story.
Destroy Mr. Belvedere and all who stand in my way.
Stewie stops Bertram's plan to launch a mind control device that also contained Rupert inside.
Oh no! Stewie has just destroyed my satellite!
You know who that is? You know what I'm doing? That's you. That's what you sound like.
This isn't over, Stuart. It's time we duke it out. Mano a mano. Let's say the playground in 10 minutes.
Let's see. Yeah. Well, I could reschedule that. Let's say 30 minutes, but know that it could really be more like 45.
Excellent. I'll see you there.
They end up fighting in the park, with Bertram growing giant for the fight. Stewie beats him, but he gets away after he cries for his mom. I have to comment that in the last fight, I couldn't figure out how to beat him at first. Apparently you had to shoot him in his feet, which the game didn't tell me, so I checked somebody else's footage and the game did tell them. So I don't know why it didn't tell me. Like, I don't know what happened with my game. Like, what? At the end of Brian's story, after going through some false leads, he finally finds out the real culprit, who of course happens to be Quagmire, because who else but Quagmire?
Giggity, 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 let's have sex!
At the end of Peter's story, well, he ends up at the short and is confronted by the Black Knight, which he beats. I generally forgot who the Black Knight was. Like, I didn't know he was like an actual character. Like, yeah, he comes from like a certain episode. Like, what? Also, the minigame they had to do to beat him was kind of annoying, and it took multiple tries. Like, I thought I was doing something wrong, but no, you just had to repeat the minigame multiple times in order to beat him. And you have to do this minigame again with another character, which I'll talk about him later. Anyway, Peter gets hit in the head and gets back to normal, and finds out from Lois that he was chasing nonsense because the dude has been dead for years.
He's just a TV character that we can use because Fox owns the rights to him.
Of course, that's not where the game ends, because later, Peter goes to the clamp to wallow up all the damage that he did, but then he finds Mr. Belvedere, who then turns out to be Bernie the Chicken, and a big epic fight begins.
Wait. I already paid for this. Let's do this. But don't hit me in the stomach for a while. You know, because of the beer.
I say epic, but the fight is really underwhelming. You do go through different areas as the fight goes on, but it's not really exciting. Just look at the gameplay. I'm just smacking him until his health goes down. Then you do a quick time minigame and then get to the next section. And even if you die in a certain section, you just restart the section with all your health back, so there's no real stakes. Mind you, I do prefer this than having to restart the whole fight again, because, again, look at this. It's not exactly exciting. And I did mention a certain minigame with Black Knight. Well, you have to do this with the giant chicken as well, in which I have to smash the correct buttons, and again, it just took multiple tries. Like, I thought I was doing something wrong, but no, you try it until it works, like, because, yeah, that's how well this game is designed. Anyway, we finally beat the giant chicken, the building explodes, and Peter lands safely.
Oh my God, Peter! Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, Lois. In fact, I learned something today. You can't always trust your feelings. Especially after watching 5 straight days of Mr. Belvedere with no sleep, and while constantly getting hit in the head by a very coincidentally large number of objects.
Well, I learned that the dog track is horse racing for poor people.
And I learned that I've got to stop overscheduling myself. I mean, look at this. Booked solid through next Thursday.
You know, there's just one thing I don't get. I know I was out of my mind in every way, but I swear that Mr. Belvedere head floating up in the sky was real. Hey, there it is again! What the hell is that?
Oh, you're a hoot, Mr. Belvedere. Okay, now here's my screech.
And then it turns out that Mayor Adam West was the one responsible for the signal. Also, the giant chicken survives because of course he does. Roll credits. And yeah, I have no incentive to play this game again, unless I have to cover it again for whatever reason. Like, if I need new footage for it, maybe. But again, the game is just really meh. Like, it's fascinating for being the first Family Guy beta game on console. It's just not really interesting, unfortunately. Like, at least the Futurama game had, like, interesting music, but, like, because this game lacks unique music tracks, a lot of the areas just blend in my mind. And it makes it not feel like Family Guy, it just makes it feel like it's really generic. And I guess that what also doesn't help is that since this is really early in the show's lifetime, the areas that are shown are not stuff that I think of when Family Guy is mentioned. They do kind of fix this with the sequel, with having the actual composer from the series work in the game, and also taking an interesting concept with the multiverse. But I don't think I'm gonna cover the sequel next because I just do not feel like playing another Family Guy game anytime soon. And it's not like the sequel is that interesting either. But I eventually might do it, but who knows when. Anyway, what other stuff do you want me to play? Tell me in the comments. And oh boy, I did not expect myself to take so long with this video. The thing that happened is that I had to re-record this video again. And I don't know if you noticed from my last video, like the audio is much better now because apparently Windows was doing something to my Mac that made it muffled. And yeah, I didn't figure it out for like a year because I'm an idiot. So, you know, now these videos will sound much better now. Thank God. I thought there was something wrong with my mic, but no, it was just Windows fucking me. Anyway, I don't know what other video I'm gonna do next. I'm genuinely not sure what I'm gonna cover next. I'll see what other games I'm gonna cover. Maybe Mega Man, because, you know, I grew up with the Mega Man Star Force, and, you know, it's still kind of new. But, you know, it's gonna take me time to, like, record and, like, play and then write. Probably not too much because I grew up with these games, but I don't know. Anyway, I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and do a lot of different things in this channel, please. Comment and all that stuff, please. I just got like to 50 subscribers the other day, and it would really help me if you subscribe. Let's go for 100 subscribers, please. Or, you know, maybe more. I want to make this whole thing work. Maybe. I don't know. At the end of the day, this is not getting me paid, but whatever.